Hey everyone, welcome back to Firsthand Globetrotting. I'm back to show you part 5 of my trip to Costa Rica. This trip has been absolutely incredible so far. I started out in La Fortuna for a few days, and now I'm in Monteverde. Before I came, everything I had heard about Costa Rica was so positive, so the bar was really high. But it completely delivered. I've had so much fun every day I've been here. I went hiking to an active volcano, swam underneath a giant waterfall, saw so many different animals in the jungle, swam in some hot springs, and so much more. If you missed any of my earlier videos about this trip, I'll put links to them down below. Today is day 6 of my trip, and it's actually the only full day I have in Monteverde. So, I'm awake early and fueling up on my typical Costa Rican breakfast of fresh fruit and juice. A few days ago I had some cas juice in La Fortuna and really liked it, so I was happy to see it was an option at breakfast. This morning, I'm at the Curi-Cancha Wildlife Refuge. I've heard it's less crowded and better for animal sightings than some of the other forests, so that's why I'm here. My nature guide today is Juan Carlos. He came highly recommended as a local nature expert. I'll put his contact info down below. It didn't take long, maybe 10 minutes at most, before we saw one of the most popular birds you can see in Monteverde, the resplendent quetzal. The colors on it are just amazing. Blues and greens and reds and oranges. It's so vibrant, you can't take your eyes off of it once you see it. It spends a lot of its time in cloud forests, so I feel like we really lucked out coming here and getting a chance to see it. It's such a famous bird, there's even one on the Guatemalan flag. I'm pretty happy that we saw it so soon on our hike. They limit the number of visitors each day, plus we got here really early, so it felt like we had the preserve all to ourselves. Other than us, the only other thing on the path was this big python millipede going for a little walk. I really liked how quiet and laid back it was here, not nearly as busy and packed as some of the places I've been. It seemed like every few minutes we'd see another animal. We heard some things falling down from the treetops above us, and when we looked up, there was a white-headed capuchin monkey dropping things down as it ate its snack up in the tree. Even without the animals, it still would have been a very nice walk through the forest. Really peaceful out here, and a nice place to relax and just enjoy the sounds of nature around me. One of the little streams we came across had some mini waterfalls in it that reminded me of the pools I swam in at Baldy. And not too far ahead, another white-headed monkey up in the trees. Part of this is pure luck. I haven't seen any of these monkeys anywhere else I've been, but now I'm seeing them everywhere I look. That's one of the things I've really liked. No two nature hikes have been the same. So much variation in vegetation and animals and layout, they've all given me something unique to see and experience. Like today, I saw so many different colorful birds. I read that Curi-Cancha is famous for the number of birds you can see, and I definitely think it's true. Its location in the mountains, and how remote it is, and all of the tall trees seemed like the perfect place for birds to hang out. One thing I noticed a lot were these thick vines that form almost an exoskeleton around some of the bigger trees in the jungle. Some of them seem to choke the actual tree out, leaving just the vines and a big hole in the middle where the tree used to be. And they have these big gaps between the vines that you can crawl inside, so you're in these vine tubes hiding out from the rest of the jungle, almost like a house. I thought these were so cool to see. They almost looked man-made, like they were some sort of play structure at a park or something. I'm not sure how strong they are, but they seemed like a ladder you could climb up. And then there were other vines that looked like they were thick braided ropes like you might use to tie a big boat to a dock, but these ones were holding on to trees. It seemed like around every corner there was some plant or tree that looked really unique and really stood out from everything else in the jungle. Eventually, I noticed that the path started to widen and the vegetation started to get smaller and thin out, so I knew that I was probably getting towards the end of Curi-Cancha's forest area and back near the visitor center at the start. But just when I thought I was done seeing any more animals, I came to a really big bushy area in an open field that was filled with hummingbirds. These ones had feathers that were different shades of blues and greens. They were moving around so quickly from branch to branch, it was hard to keep track of them, but luckily a few of them slowed down and took a break so I could get a good look at them. We were up really early this morning and got here right as the park was opening, but I think it was completely worth it. We got so lucky with our animal sightings. And in a perfect ending to the hike, we saw another quetzal right before we were about to leave. I'm not sure if it's the same one I saw before since this is a different area of the park. It might have just flown over here from the other tree. It's really nice that the quetzal was both the first and the last animal I saw at Curi-Cancha. The visitor center was starting to get a little busier when we left, but it was still pretty laid back and probably never gets over full. We got up so early to do our hike this morning that when we got back to Santa Elena, all of the restaurants were still serving breakfast. So I decided to have a second breakfast today. I'm pretty predictable though, so I stuck with one of my favorite Costa Rican breakfast dishes, some gallo pinto with a tortilla, some cheese, and a fried sweet plantain on the side. After breakfast, I decided to walk around downtown Santa Elena a little more, since I was only here for a little bit yesterday. It's definitely a much smaller and sleepier town than La Fortuna was, with nearly everything on 3 main roads that are laid out in a triangle. Even with only 3 busier roads, most of the stores and restaurants were on one of them, and even that one wasn't very long, maybe 100 meters from one end of it to the other. I was popping into different stores as I walked around, but I probably could have walked the entire downtown triangle in 5 or 10 minutes at the most. I don't want that to sound like a negative though. I actually really liked how relaxed and compact everything was here. It was really nice. It's probably good that it's a smaller downtown, since just like the rest of Monteverde, it's really hilly up here in the mountains. If it was really spread out, I probably wouldn't have liked all the ups and downs. Walking the triangle is actually really scenic though, since you can see the rest of Santa Elena spreading out in the hills in the background as you wander around town. One of the stores I went in was a grocery store, and I got to see some fresh cas. I've really liked the juice, so it was nice to see where it came from. I've been seeing one type of liquor everywhere I've been, guaro. It's distilled from sugarcane juice and seems to be really popular. I don't remember ever seeing it before, so I'm definitely going to have to try some whenever I get a chance. Most of the walking I've been doing has either been in the downtown area of Santa Elena or a few of the roads near my hotel, so I decided to venture out a bit and see what else I could find. I ended up on one of the roads that's below my hotel. I always see it when I'm on the balconies looking out over Monteverde. There wasn't a big, colorful city sign like you see in a lot of tourist towns, but I did find this overgrown wooden one as I was wandering around town. Once you get those big signs for tourists to take pictures in front of, that usually tells you that a place is turning into a full-on tourist city. As I was walking along the road, I found a little area along the side that you can stop at for a scenic outlook. It was a really nice view. You have the green hills on either side surrounding a deep valley, and more hills in the background, and blue, cloudy skies up above. I'm really glad I took this walk. Not only were the views really great, but I always like getting a little bit outside of the central tourist areas to see what the rest of the town looks like. For lunch today, I stopped by another soda. This one was right next to my hotel. I've walked by it a few times already. Another small, cozy restaurant with only enough room for a few tables inside, and a big handwritten menu showing all of the delicious things you can order here. Every tourist place I've been to has had Pura Vida things, but I've actually found a lot of locals use it as a greeting to each other, so it's not just a tourist slogan. For my meal, you might not be able to tell what I got since it's covered in a layer of cabbage and sauce, but trust me, there's something buried under there. They're taco ticos, a Costa Rican version of tacos. Unlike most tacos I've had, these have the tortillas rolled around the filling and then deep fried, kind of like taquitos. But the cabbage and sauces are definitely what sets them apart in both the look and the taste. I thought they were really good. After lunch, I was ready to get back out and explore more of Monteverde, so I took a short drive to El Trapiche farm to take a tour. They primarily produce coffee here, but they also have cacao and sugarcane, so I was pretty interested to learn about all of it. The mountains of Monteverde are famous for growing really great coffee, so I figured this was a must-do while I was here. I drink coffee, but honestly don't know much about it. I'm hoping to learn a lot from the tour. And getting to see what a working Costa Rican farm is like, and then having the added bonus of sampling some chocolate and sugarcane is pretty nice too. One of the things I really liked was that they showed us what the coffee plants look like at all stages of their growth, starting as seedlings. Then, outside of the greenhouse, you can see what some of the smaller plants look like when they're in the ground. And finally, the farm has the mature plants with the coffee beans growing on them. After the coffee is picked, they have a room that shows the different ways that it's dried out. I didn't realize that there were so many different ways to dry them out, and how each way impacted the color and sweetness and taste of the coffee. Something about the elevation and the way the plants grow on the hillside is supposed to be the reason Monteverde coffee is so good. I'm not enough of a coffee expert to know if that's true or not, but I can't think of a more beautiful place to come to see coffee plants growing. I even had a bird join me on the tour. I don't think I've ever seen coffee growing before, so it was really great to get an up-close look at it. It's going to give me a new appreciation for the coffee I'm drinking, especially if it comes from Monteverde and I think back to the plants growing on the green hills with the clouds surrounding them. The beautiful surroundings and how picture-perfect it looks almost made me forget that this is still an active farm with workers out there harvesting. As the tour took us over to the coffee house, we got to see some amazing colorful murals on the walls. Even the buildings are beautiful here. This room is filled with all of the different machines that are used to process the coffee before it's ready to be brewed. There was a lot going on in here. Machines to sort the beans by size, find the ones with the correct moisture, peel them, roast them, and more. It was a flood of information in here, since you learn about nearly every step in the process and see all of the specialized machinery that they use to automate everything. Really interesting stuff. I had no idea how many steps there were. Next time I'm drinking coffee, I'll definitely be thinking about how much hard work went into producing it for me. Now that my brain is full of coffee information, it was time to head over to the cacao house to start learning about how chocolate is made. I've eaten a lot of chocolate in my life, but I know even less about how it's produced than coffee. This is the first time I've ever seen cacao growing before. Just looking at the map, it's pretty wild how few places can grow it considering the worldwide popularity of chocolate. I don't know how I expected cacao to look, but it's so much bigger than I expected. It's these really big pods that have thick shells protecting all of the beans inside of them. They almost remind me more of a pumpkin or some type of melon. But the insides were the most confusing to me. You can't tell me that you'd expect this to eventually become chocolate. That's mostly because they're so white and gooey, but once they're dried out, they look a lot more like I expect them to look like. Eventually, depending on what other ingredients you add to the processed cacao, you end up with either dark chocolate, milk chocolate, or white chocolate. But the most important part, at least for me, was when we got a chance to taste some of the chocolate they made here. We still had one more thing to learn about today, so we headed over to the sugarcane area to see how it's processed. As we were walking around the property, there were a lot of sugarcane stalks growing along the paths that we were walking along. In this building, we got to see how those cane stalks go from a plant to something sweet that we can eat. I've seen sugarcane presses at little roadside fruit and juice stands before, but the one they used here was a big one powered by a water wheel. As the person puts them in, they get crushed, and all of the juice is pressed out of it and runs down into the bucket at the bottom. You can drink the juice freshly pressed, but they also heat it up to remove water and turn it into more of a syrup. They even put us to work. We all got some of the sugarcane syrup on a table with a wooden scraper, and we had to mix and stir and scrape the syrup. Eventually, it turned into some sugarcane taffy that we got to eat and take home with us. I've had sugarcane juice before and some candies made out of it, but this was the first time I got to try a raw piece of sugarcane. I really liked it. I came here to learn about the coffee, but I'm really glad they also taught us about cacao and sugarcane. It was really interesting to see how all of these things are produced. We got to sample a lot as we went, but at the end of the tour, they take you to a little restaurant area where they have a few extra samples for you to try before you go. Of course, they give you a cup of El Trapiche coffee to drink. I'm not a coffee expert, but it definitely tastes better after walking around and seeing where it's grown and produced. And after trying the cacao beans and liquid version, we got to taste some of the chocolate they make here. They also gave us a tortilla filled with picadillo. It's a mixture of vegetables they grow here, cooked and chopped up, with some added seasoning and spices. We got so many samples on this tour. It was so nice getting to see everything growing and then taste the delicious things they make with them. I had a great time. It was a really nice tour. There was so much to see, and the farm is in an absolutely beautiful location. It definitely makes me appreciate these foods even more. I even bought some to bring back home with me. Honestly, before coming to Monteverde, I wasn't really planning to do a coffee tour, but I'm really glad I ended up doing it. I really enjoyed it. When I got back to the hotel after the tour, the entire hotel was completely surrounded by clouds. They were like a wall blocking everything from view. Earlier, when I was out on the patio, I could see far away in every direction, but now, other than the road right in front of the hotel, everything is completely hidden behind the clouds. Just like the cloud forests, it's like we're up in a cloud city now. I don't live at a very high elevation, so the fact there are forests and cities way up in the clouds is such a cool thing to see and a unique experience. As it started getting dark, I had to hang around the hotel for a while because, as you probably guessed, it started to rain. Other than Santa Elena, look how dark it is everywhere else. The lights of Santa Elena were calling me, so as soon as the rain stopped, I headed into town. The downtown area was never very busy during the daytime, but it was even sleepier at night. Other than some taxis driving people around and a few people on their way to dinner, there wasn't much traffic on the roads. I made my way to one of the restaurants and grabbed a table with a nice view outside so I could keep looking out at Santa Elena at night. Remember I showed you the bottles of guaro in the grocery store earlier today? I got a guaro sour with my meal tonight. It seemed fitting after my tour since the guaro is made with sugarcane juice. After that, it was just a lazy nighttime stroll back to my hotel after another really long and eventful day in Monteverde. And that wraps up day number 6 in Costa Rica. There hasn't been a single day since I got here that I haven't had a fun time. This has been an incredible trip so far. Unfortunately, it's coming close to the end of my trip, But don't worry, I still have some more great things to show you before I'm done. I'll put links to all of the videos from this trip down below, so make sure to check them out in case you missed any. If you have any questions about anything I've done so far, ask me in the comments. And while you're at it, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. If you want to see what I'm up to now, I'm firsthand globetrotting on Instagram, follow me on there. And don't forget, it's an incredible world out there, so pick up your passport and do some firsthand globetrotting of your own.